I arrived 15 minutes early to Anderson Consulting Group's monthly board meeting, deliberately choosing a seat at the far end of the mahogany table. My Uncle Robert, interim CEO since my father's retirement, barely glanced up from his iPad as I entered. Why would he? In his eyes, I was just the family disappointment, the one who'd refused a senior partnership 3 years ago to explore other opportunities. If only they knew what those opportunities had become. My phone buzzed quietly. A message from my COO. Microsoft contract signed. $300 million for initial phase. Apple meeting confirmed for Thursday. I typed back. Perfect. Keep the Thomson Reuters deal quiet until after today's meeting. Let them throw their stones first. The Anderson Consulting Group boardroom tried hard to project success. Heavy curtains, aging leather chairs, that pretentious oil painting of my grandfather. But I could see the cracks in the facade. The carpet was wearing thin. The technology was outdated, just like their business model. Uncle Robert cleared his throat as the last board member settled in. Let's begin with the quarterly numbers. He nodded to my cousin Peter, his son, and our supposed financial wizard. Peter? Peter straightened his Brooks Brothers tee. Last season's pattern, I noted absently. We're seeing a continued decline in our traditional client base. Revenue is down 23% year over year. The Maxwell account, which represented 15% of our billing, has given notice. Because they signed with her. Uncle Robert interrupted, jabbing a finger in my direction. After she left us, they followed. Probably cut them a deal we couldn't match. I kept my face neutral, remembering the actual reason. Maxwell Corp was now paying my firm, Atlas Global Solutions, 10 times what they paid Anderson Consulting, for 10 times the value. That's not exactly, I started. We're not interested in your excuses, Sarah. Uncle Robert cut in. This meeting is about saving the family business, a business you abandoned. The other board members, mostly family, a few long-term partners, shifted uncomfortably. They'd never understood why I'd left a guaranteed partnership to start my own firm. A woman in her early 30s striking out alone? It seemed foolish. Actually, I said quietly, I'm here to propose a solution. A solution? Peter snorted. You can't even run a proper business. How many employees do you even have in that little consulting shop of yours? I smiled slightly. Enough. Uncle Robert stood, assuming the power position at the head of the table. Sarah, let's be clear. You had a chance here. Partnership track. Family legacy. Instead, you ran off to play entrepreneur. Now, 3 years later, while we're fighting to keep this company afloat, you what? Want to give advice? I want to help. Help? He laughed harshly. The only help would be bringing Maxwell back. But you probably lost them too, with whatever cut-rate services you're offering. I pulled out my laptop. Would you like to see my client list? Why? So we can see which small businesses you've managed to scrape together. Robert, my Aunt Margaret cautioned. Perhaps we should listen. No, he cut her off. This ends now. Sarah, you're here because you still own 5% of Anderson Consulting. But let me be clear, you have no say in our operations. You can't even run a proper business yourself. Just sell us your shares and Atlas Global Solutions. I interrupted, connecting my laptop to the projector. That's my company's full name. You've probably never looked it up. Why would we? The projection screen lit up. My company's client dashboard appeared, showing active contracts and revenue streams. Microsoft, Apple, Goldman Sachs, Thomson Reuters. The boardroom fell silent. As of this morning, I continued calmly, we manage digital transformation for 500 of the Fortune 1000. Maxwell didn't leave Anderson Consulting for cheaper rates. They left because we're the best. Our AI-driven consulting solutions, which this firm rejected as too experimental 3 years ago, now generate $4.2 billion in annual revenue. Peter's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. That's impossible. The Microsoft contract I just signed is worth more than Anderson Consulting's entire annual revenue. Times 3. I looked directly at Uncle Robert. Still think I can't run a proper business? You're lying, he sputtered. These numbers are public record. Atlas Global Solutions went public last year. Market cap of $22 billion. You might have missed it. I kept my married name off the paperwork. Aunt Margaret was frantically Googling on her phone. Her gasp told me she'd found the Ford's profile from last month. Now, I continued, about saving the family business. I have a proposition. But first, I smiled at Uncle Robert, still frozen in his power pose. Perhaps you'd like to revise your opinion about my business acumen. The silence was deafening. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see my driver waiting with the Maybach. A deliberate choice for today. Sometimes success needs to be obvious to be believed. My phone buzzed again. Thomson Reuters press release ready. Acquisition amount, $1.2 billion. Approve? I typed back quickly. Hold 1 hour. Family meeting running long. Let them squirm first. Looking up, I met Uncle Robert's stunned gaze. Shall we discuss that proposition now? Or would you like to question my competence some more? The antique clock on the wall ticked loudly, counting down the seconds until I would reveal phase 2 of my plan. The complete acquisition of Anderson Consulting Group. They thought Maxwell was a big loss. They had no idea what was coming. I opened another file on my laptop, watching their faces as they struggled to process their new reality. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them realize just how wrong they've been, $1 billion at a time. The next hour in that boardroom was a masterclass in watching inflated egos deflate. I pulled up Atlas Global's latest investor presentation, letting each slide hammer home the magnitude of what I'd built while they dismissed me. Annual revenue growth, 300% year over year. Global staff, 12,000 employees across 23 countries. Average client contract value, $50 million. AI-driven consulting solutions, 98% client retention rate. Peter had gone pale, frantically cross-referencing numbers on his phone. Uncle Robert remained standing, but his power pose had withered into something more defensive. Aunt Margaret kept looking between me and the Forbes article she'd found, as if trying to reconcile the little girl she knew with the business titan on her screen. 3 years ago, I continued, clicking to the next slide. I presented a digital transformation strategy to this board. You called it unrealistic and too ambitious for our clients. I paused, letting the irony sink in. Last month, IBM paid us $400 million to implement that exact strategy across their global operations. But how? Peter stammered. The startup costs alone. You mean the seed money? I smiled. Remember that foolish investment I made in a small cryptocurrency exchange in 2017? The one Uncle Robert said would ruin my reputation. Uncle Robert's face darkened with recognition. That foolish investment turned into $50 million in initial funding. While you were all laughing at my crypto nonsense, I was building the foundation of Atlas Global. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my COO. Google's CEO wants to move up tomorrow's meeting. Says it's urgent. I typed back. Tell him I'm handling a family matter. He can wait. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 years ago, these people wouldn't give me time to finish a presentation. Now I was making tech giants wait their turn. Sarah, Aunt Margaret ventured, why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That while you were all criticizing my choices, I was signing contracts with companies you couldn't even dream of approaching. That every time Uncle Robert called my ideas impractical, another Fortune 500 CEO was implementing them. I stood up, walking to the window. Below, I could see the faded Anderson Consulting Group sign, once prestigious, now just dated. But that's not even the interesting part, I continued, turning back to face them. The interesting part is what happened 6 months ago. Peter frowned. What happened 6 months ago? I clicked to the next slide. The room went deadly quiet as they read the heading. Project Phoenix, Complete Digital Infrastructure Acquisition Strategy. You see, I explained, pacing slowly around the table. While Anderson Consulting was losing clients to cheaper competitors, Atlas Global was analyzing their entire client portfolio. Every contract, every relationship, every potential opportunity. Uncle Robert's hands gripped the back of his chair. You've been spying on us? Studying you. There's a difference, and what we found was fascinating. Another slide. 87% of your remaining clients are already in discussions with Atlas Global, not because we poached them, because they came to us. That's impossible, Peter protested. We would know. Would you? When was the last time you actually talked to the Maxwell Corp CEO? Because I had dinner with him last week. He's not just moving their consulting work to Atlas. He's bringing their entire digital transformation budget. $2 billion over 5 years. Aunt Margaret gasped. But here's the real question you should be asking. I continued, returning to my seat. If I know this much about Anderson Consulting's client relationships, what else might I know? The implication hung heavy in the air. I opened a thick folder, like the fact that your last 3 quarterly reports to shareholders contained material misstatements. Or that Peter's innovative cost-cutting measures included some creative accounting that the SEC might find interesting. Peter's coffee cup clattered again. This time, it tipped over entirely. Of course, I added, watching coffee seep into his sleeve. Atlas Global's due diligence team has found similar issues across many traditional consulting firms. It's amazing what people will overlook when they're desperate to maintain appearances. Are you threatening us? Uncle Robert's voice shook slightly. Threatening? No, I'm offering you a lifeline. I slid copies of a document across the table. Atlas Global Solutions is prepared to acquire Anderson Consulting Group. Full value for shareholders. Generous retention packages for key employees. Complete indemnification for any historical irregularities. The room erupted in whispers as they read the terms. The offer is valid for 24 hours. I continued over their murmurs. After that, Atlas Global will proceed with our expansion plans without you. And I suspect several regulatory agencies might become very interested in some of Peter's recent financial decisions. This is blackmail, Uncle Robert sputtered. This is business. I stood up, smoothing my Armani suit. The same business you claimed I couldn't run properly. The same business where you said a woman's touch would damage the firm's reputation. My phone buzzed yet again. Thomson Reuters press release still holding. Time sensitive. I checked the time. 53 minutes since they'd questioned my competence. It felt like a lifetime ago. "I'll give you time to discuss the offer," I said, gathering my things. "But first, one last slide." The projection changed to a simple photograph. Me at 28, presenting that rejected digital transformation strategy to the same board. In the image, Uncle Robert was checking his phone, Peter was smirking, and not a single person was looking at my presentation. "I keep this as a reminder," I said softly. "Not of your dismissal, but of the moment I decided to build something so massive, so undeniably successful, that you'd never ignore me again." Walking to the door, I turned back one final time. 24 hours, gentlemen. "Oh, and Uncle Robert? That partnership track you thought I couldn't handle. I just bought my own firm instead. Several, actually. The Thomson Reuters announcement should be hitting the news any minute now." As I left, I heard Peter's frantic voice. "She's not serious about the SEC thing, right? Right?" Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's making them realize they're now dependent on the very person they underestimated. Exactly 23 hours later, I sat in my real office, the entire top floor of a gleaming tower in Manhattan's Hudson Yards. The Atlas Global logo glowed softly on the wall behind me, visible from half of Midtown. Below, New York City sparkled like the empire it was, an empire where I now controlled more corporate decisions than the family who dismissed me ever could. My COO, David, stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, reading the latest updates. Thomson Reuters' acquisition made every major financial news outlet. Stocks up 12% since the announcement. And he smiled, checking his tablet. "Andersen Consulting Group's remaining clients are calling. All of them." "How many minutes until the deadline?" I asked, though I already knew. 37. "Your uncle's been in our lobby for the past hour." Of course he had. I pulled up the security feed. Uncle Robert paced near the reception desk, his usual Brooks Brothers confidence replaced by something more desperate. The Wall Street Journal, tucked under his arm, featured Atlas Global's latest triumph. Tech's new queen. How Sarah Anderson built a $22 billion empire while her family wasn't looking. "Send him up," I said. "And David?" "Release the Google partnership announcement in exactly 30 minutes. Let's see how Uncle Robert handles the news that we're redesigning their global consulting infrastructure." The office doors opened, and Uncle Robert stepped in, stopping short at the view. My office made Andersen Consulting's boardroom look like a small-town bank branch. Modern art worth millions adorned the walls. Multiple screens displayed real-time global market data. Success wasn't just visible here, it was overwhelming. "The board has concerns," he started, trying to sound authoritative. "I'm sure they do." I gestured to a chair. "Unfortunately, you have." I checked my watch. 35 minutes to move past them. "Sarah, be reasonable. This is family." "Family?" I interrupted. "Like when you were reasonable about my digital transformation strategy. Or when you told clients not to waste time talking to me because I was just playing entrepreneur?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Those were different times." "Different times," I repeated, pulling up a presentation on my main screen. "Let's talk about these different times." Charts and graphs appeared, showing Andersen Consulting's declining metrics against Atlas Global's meteoric rise. While you were dismissing my ideas as unrealistic, I was building this. While Peter was making jokes about women in tech, I was signing contracts worth more than your entire company. And while you were all congratulating yourselves on maintaining traditional consulting values, I was revolutionizing the entire industry. "The offer," he said quietly, It's too low. I actually laughed. Too low. Uncle Robert, I'm offering you twice your market value. I'm protecting Peter from an SEC investigation that would end his career. I'm saving the Anderson name from the humiliation of bankruptcy. And you think it's too low? My phone buzzed. David had sent the Google contract numbers. I turned my screen so Uncle Robert could see them. His face went pale. That's more zeros than Anderson Consulting will see in a decade? Yes. That's one contract. One. I have dozens like it. But why? He asked. Why buy us at all? You've clearly succeeded without. Because of this. I played a video clip. Uncle Robert at that fateful board meeting 3 years ago, saying, Sarah, honey, you don't understand how real business works. I paused the video on his condescending smile. I want you to understand exactly how real business works. When I acquire Anderson Consulting, notice I said when, not if, you'll report to me. Every decision, every strategy, every client meeting will require my approval. The little girl you dismissed will be your boss. The board won't accept. The board already has. While you've been standing in my lobby, they've been calling one by one. Funny how an SEC investigation threat focuses the mind. His shoulders slumped. The last vestiges of his corporate warrior pose vanished. 20 minutes, I noted. Oh, and you might want to prepare Peter for the Google announcement. Since he specifically told them last year that Anderson Consulting could handle their digital transformation needs. Google. What? Atlas Global is now Google's exclusive digital transformation partner. Global contract. 5 years. Numbers that would make your quarterly revenue look like a rounding error. My phone buzzed again. David's message. 4 more Anderson clients just called. They want to transfer their contracts before the acquisition. Time's running out, Uncle Robert. Both literally and figuratively. Sign now, and you get a graceful exit. Generous compensation. A story about a planned succession. Wait. I gestured to the wall of screens showing global market data. And watch what happens when we announce our next 3 acquisitions without you. He reached for the contract with trembling hands. One more thing, I added as he picked up a pen. That partnership track you said I wasn't ready for. I just bought 6 consulting firms larger than Anderson. And unlike you, they all saw my value before I owned them. The pen scratched across paper. With each signature, years of dismissal and doubt were transformed into sweet, corporate revenge. Done, he said quietly. Almost. I pressed my intercom. David? Release the Google announcement. And send in the transition team. Mr. Anderson needs to hand over his office keys and credentials. Immediately. Uncle Robert's head snapped up. But the contract says 2 weeks. The contract gives me immediate operational control. And my first operational decision is this. You're done. Right now. The car waiting downstairs will take you home. Your personal items will be shipped tomorrow. You can't. I can. I did. And Uncle Robert? I smiled, remembering every patronizing comment, every dismissed idea, every moment they underestimated me. This is how real business works. As security arrived to escort him out, I turned to the windows, watching my empire's reflection in the glass. Sometimes success isn't just about proving them wrong. It's about becoming so powerful that they can't ignore how wrong they were. And I was just getting started. 1 month after the acquisition, I sat in what was once Uncle Robert's office at Anderson Consulting, now just another subsidiary of Atlas Global Solutions. The dated decor had been replaced with sleek modern design. The old oil paintings swapped for digital displays, showing real-time performance metrics. The transformation wasn't just aesthetic, it was symbolic. My phone buzzed with a message from David. Final numbers for Q3. Atlas Global Revenue up 200%. Former Andersen Consulting Division, under new management, up 150%. Board meeting in 10 minutes. I smiled, remembering Uncle Robert's last prediction. She'll run it into the ground within a month. The new board meeting room was packed when I entered. Unlike the old family-dominated sessions, this room held serious players. CEOs of our acquired companies, tech industry veterans, global finance experts. Peter sat in the back corner, no longer the presumed heir, but just another middle manager who kept his job by cooperating with our forensic accountants. "Good morning," I began, taking my seat at the head of the table. "Let's discuss the Andersen integration results." The numbers spoke for themselves. Client retention, 98%. New contract values, tripled. Employee satisfaction, up 60%. Every metric that Uncle Robert had claimed would suffer under inexperienced leadership had skyrocketed. "Ms. Andersen?" My assistant appeared at the door. "Your father's here." Dad, the former Andersen Consulting CEO, who'd stepped down 3 years ago, leaving Uncle Robert in charge because Sarah isn't ready for leadership. "Send him in." He entered slowly, taking in the transformed space. Gone was the stuffy old money atmosphere he'd cultivated. In its place was something dynamic, modern, alive with possibility. "The place looks different," he managed. "Different is up 150% in revenue," I replied. Different just signed Microsoft, Google, and Apple as clients. Different works. He shifted uncomfortably. "Your mother said you're not coming to Sunday dinners anymore." Being busy. Running multiple global companies takes time. Unlike watching them fail slowly out of stubborn adherence to tradition. "Sarah," he started. "Dad, why are you here?" He pulled out a folder, my original digital transformation proposal from 3 years ago. "I found this in my old files. Every prediction you made, every trend you identified, every innovation you proposed, you were right about all of it." "I know. And now," he gestured to the displays showing Atlas Global's market dominance. "Now you've built something I never imagined possible." "That was the problem, Dad. You never imagined it was possible. None of you did." My phone buzzed again. "David, Fortune magazine wants you for CEO of the Year cover. Theme, the future of consulting." The irony wasn't lost on me. "Your uncle," Dad said carefully, "he's not doing well. The SEC investigation into his personal trading accounts isn't helping, I imagine. You could stop that." I could, just like he could have supported my ideas instead of dismissing them. Choices have consequences. The board members were filing in for our meeting. Several did double takes at seeing the former CEO standing there, looking diminished in the space he once ruled. "The family's falling apart, Sarah. Peter's wife left him. Your Aunt Margaret barely leaves the house. The country club," he trailed off. "The country club where Uncle Robert loved to brag about how he'd never let a woman run his company." I stood up. "The same club where I just bought a controlling interest." Dad's eyes widened. "You didn't." "I did. Amazing what $22 billion can buy, including the truth about who really understands real business. And there's no way to fix this?" I walked to the window, looking out at the city where I'd built my empire. "It is fixed, Dad. Andersen Consulting was failing. I saved it." The family reputation was built on past glory. I've made it relevant again. The only thing that's broken is your outdated perception of what I could achieve. And Peter, your cousin, has a job because I allow it. He's learning what real corporate governance looks like. What actual business ethics mean. Consider it the education Uncle Robert never gave him. The board meeting was waiting. My time was literally worth millions per hour now. Sunday dinner. Dad tried one last time. Your mother misses you. I have dinner with world leaders now. Dad. CEOs of Fortune 100 companies. People who see my value without needing to be forced by an acquisition. He turned to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, I was wrong. We all were. I know that too. The difference is, now everyone knows it. Check tomorrow's Wall Street Journal. They're running a special feature. How Atlas Global's CEO transformed a family business into a global empire. The subtitle is interesting. Sarah Anderson, the leader her family failed to see. As he left, David entered with the latest acquisition reports. The Anderson integration exceeded projections by 40%. And the Google contract? They want to double it. I took my seat at the head of the board table, remembering all the times I'd been told to wait my turn, to know my place, to understand my limitations. One more thing, David added with a slight smile. The country club board? They want to make you president. Apparently, their current president, your uncle's best friend, is stepping down. Something about financial irregularities? I allowed myself a small smile. Schedule the vote for a Thursday. That used to be Uncle Robert's regular golf day. The board meeting began, and I watched these powerful business leaders, many of them men who'd once dismissed me just like my family had, hang on my every word. Every strategy I outlined, every vision I shared, was met with nods of approval and respect. My phone buzzed one final time. Time magazine cover story approved. The Queen of Corporate Transformation. How Sarah Anderson rebuilt an industry. Sometimes success isn't just about proving your worth. It's about creating a legacy so powerful that those who doubted you have to read about your triumph over breakfast every morning. And as I launched into our global expansion strategy, I couldn't help but think, the little girl they wouldn't listen to now controls their entire world. That's what real business looks like.